What's going on is Anton from antondaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. More campaign finance records are starting to come out from the Kamala Harris campaign because we wanted to know exactly who got paid and who was basically shilling for you guys. And so as I discovered this information, and I had to put some other stuff on the back burner, as I discovered this information, I'll be revealing it to you guys so you can see whether or not these people are authentic and they were really giving you their thoughts or they were being paid to do so. And then I'm also going to show you all of the stuff that was happening. So we already know that Al Sharpton was obviously a shill and he was being paid, but he wasn't the only one. And we knew that he wasn't the only one. There were more people that were being paid. So let's deep dive into it, all right? Vice President Kamala Harris, and this is according to Fox News, courtesy of the New York Times, Vice President Kamala Harris campaign reportedly gave large amounts of money to organizations run by media figures in the weeks before sitting down for interviews with them. Goes on to say, FEC filings first reported by the Washington Free Beacon show the Harris campaign gave two $250,000 donations to Reverend Al Sharpton's nonprofit organization in September and October. So that's $500,000. But we already reported on that. For those of y'all that didn't see that, you can go ahead and check that out. Look at it on the Anton Daniels channel. It's right here, all right? Let's deep dive. Harris sat down for a friendly interview with the MSNBC host on October 20th, in which he asked her what she wanted her legacy to be 50 years from now. Sharpton wasn't the only media ally that received a payment from the campaign to his organization ahead of their sit-down interview, a bombshell New York Times report revealed. Now, before we get into the person that I really want to deep dive into, and I have a feeling that you guys already know because you clicked on the video and so you know who I'm going to talk about, I want to say that this is a representation of what we don't want in the community. And so we gonna get conflicted a little bit on this because on one hand, you're going to have people say, well, they should be pouring money into the community. They should be giving it to black media. Okay, all right, we'll explain that and we'll deep dive into that a little bit. But first of all, I do want to say, y'all were wondering why she was getting so many softball questions. Well, here's why. Because she was paying them to interview her. And so when it seemed like you were getting the real Kamala Harris, and this is authentic for some of y'all that's on the liberal side, because we already knew on the Republican side what was going on, you weren't getting anything except for what she was paying for. So this is all a finesse. But let's continue. Goes on to say the campaign also gave a $350,000 payment to New Vision Media on September 9th. According to FEC filings, New Media Vision is a media company run by journalist Roland Martin. Martin spent roughly 30 minutes interviewing Harris on his streaming platform in October. The former CNN contributor goes on to say that the payment was for advertising. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit because we're going to deep dive. Number one, Roland Martin, right, got $350,000. We already know that all of those entertainers got millions of dollars. Al Sharpton got $500,000. They went and spent over $1 billion trying to buy themselves into your hearts and into these campaigns and doing these studies and all of this stuff. So I'm conflicted. I'm a little bit conflicted, and let me tell you why. The first reason that I'm conflicted is because she basically got her people a bag. And when I say her people, I'm talking about mostly the black organizations and the Greek organizations. And so on one end, people are going to celebrate. And now you know why they got over an 80% turnout vote on the black community. You are being paid to be a part of the Democratic plantation. And you are being finessed by the people that y'all look at as leadership. So when I ran into the guy at the airport and he was sitting there telling me about Roland Martin is the voice of black people and he's authentic, I have to disagree. And now that the payments is coming out, because if you want to be a media personality from an advertising perspective, you will have to disclose that. And that's what then makes you authentic, because people then can take what you say and it can mean something. Because if he says, oh, okay, well, it was for advertising, then that's supposed to be formal, right? You're supposed to, like, I tell people, hey, this is an advertisement, but I still use the product. I love it, and I would never sell you something or tell you to get something that I wouldn't use myself. Make sure y'all tap into the Teej pack, 30%, 40% off your first order plus 20% off life. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and throw that Teej logo up there real quick. Get your Teej Hanley, 40% off your first order plus 20% off of life. But you know that I'm being paid to do so. So they will then come back and say, oh man, wait a minute. This is just them spending money on black media, but you were representing yourself to be authentic when it came to giving your opinion on whether or not black people should vote for Kamala Harris, not letting us know that you are also being a paid informant. And this is the reason why y'all got to be careful on who you guys follow. All money ain't good money. I call this blood money. I call this blood money because this tells you that the people that you listen to are unable to be objective. I will definitively tell you that I have not received one dime from anybody that's a part of any campaign or any special interest group or anything like that. I have not received one dime. Not that I haven't been offered, but I certainly didn't take it. You know why? Because this is similar to the PPP loans. Everybody seemed like they was balling until you could actually look up, because they didn't know that you was going to be able to look up the fact that these PPP loans was going to be public information because it was used by public tax dollars. And then you start seeing these scammers and people explode because you was able to go and look through and see who in your cities was getting PPP loans. Now, not only was it you not supposed to get the PPP loan because you was doing it illegally, but you also got exposed. And so I don't accept payments. I don't take money from nobody. And if I do get a sponsorship, you're going to know that it's a sponsorship. But then that allows for me to be able to be a credible source and objective, because it's not always about the money. What about what's best for the people? What about what's best for the community? Now I have to say, you know what I'm saying? Like, are these people just idiots or are they just being paid? Well, we know maybe it's a little bit of both, because they're being paid to shill something to you because they've been exalted by the black community as having the loudest voice in the room. And so you take their stuff as gospel, but you just spewing out what she telling you to spew out based off of the softball questions that they asking her because they don't want to disrupt the bag. I believe that your bag should be coming authentic. You should not be being paid to be selling out the community. Now, I'm honestly going to stay on top of this because I truly want to know who is selling out, who is really telling you the truth, who's giving you their authentic thoughts, and who's a credible source. Because if you say that you're rocking with them, but we just have opposing views, then that's one thing. But if you're getting paid for it and you selling your people out, that's a completely different thing. Like I said, don't tell me that it's advertising when in reality, you get in the bag to sell people out, because if it was advertising, you should have disclosed that in the beginning. We know the difference between advertising and being paid. And just because the payment goes to your media company, don't mean that you're not being paid and being finessed. And I got to give them credit because they finessing the system more than anybody that I've seen before, and they legally finessing the system. But all of these people, all of them, have no credibility whatsoever. I think that people need to divest themselves from some of these platforms because they're not best for you. And just because you being in, if you going for entertainment, that's one thing. If you're going for information, know what you're getting yourself into. Let me say that again. If you're going for entertainment, that's one thing. If you're going to get credible sources of information and real opinions based off of what people really feel, not who they're getting paid by, then you won't have to start questioning your media sources, because just because they have their own platform or they're independent don't mean they're not getting the bag. They getting the bag from them networks, Al Sharpton and them working for these networks, and they finessing them based off of being a part of a Greek organization. But I guess that's what happens when you become a part of the boule. And I don't trust any of these people. I don't trust none of these entertainers, none of these people, because they fake, they phony, and they taking payments in order to try to sell you on being a part of the Democratic plantation, and they're not credible sources. But we got so much more coming because I got a bunch of videos lined up for y'all that I got to do. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Also, Teej Hanley, 40% off your first order plus 20% off for life. That's a paid sponsorship, but I actually use the product. And then last but not least, make sure you get your tickets to come and kick it with me December 14th in Detroit. It's going to be an awesome show. I love you. I appreciate you. I'd love to know what you guys think inside of the comments. Let me holler at y'all a little bit. Let's talk about it.